Nursing informatics is involved in many parts of nursing: clinical practice, education, administration, research, and more. Nursing informatics integrates nursing science, computer science, and information science to manage and communicate data, information, and knowledge in nursing practice. It facilitates the integration of data, information, and knowledge to support patient and client care. The foundation of nursing informatics is established on interpreting data based on patient information and nursing knowledge. The CNA believes that effective decision-making using patient information is an important part of quality nursing care. There has been a historical shift from an industrial focus to a more informational focus. The industrial age started in the late 19th century to early 20th. It focused on productivity, efficiency, division of labor, and the centralized organization of employees. Canadian nurse Jean Mentz, who founded the first hospital in Montreal, Canada in 1642, used various forms of machinery such as ventilators and physiological monitors in critical care settings. The information age, characterized by a strong reliance on the exchange of information via electronic or electrical means, non-hierarchical organization of employees and networked employers, and rapid access to a vast body of information that can be easily manipulated. The CNA realized that nurses are the largest group of healthcare providers, and the use of information and communication technology and other technology is vital. The CNA began to start early initiatives for hospitals to start adopting newer technology, mainly from the United States. By the 1980s, most hospitals had at least a basic system to allow nurses to enter rudimentary data into a computer. In 1998, the CNA started another initiative called the Nursing Informatics Project to create a definition for nursing informatics, competencies, and educational strategies. To raise awareness on the importance of the integration of nursing informatics into nursing practice, the CNA released a document in 2001 titled, "What is Nursing Informatics and Why is it so important?" This was a critical document to help educate nurses on the up-and-coming field of nursing informatics. As knowledge workers, nurses are responsible to be a liaison between technology and patients. This means that nurses must constantly evolve with the technology to facilitate the best evidence-based practice. Nurses are required to translate technology for patients, which requires ongoing education to keep up with more advanced technology and increased patient expectations. Patients have a vast access to resources and become more comfortable with information technology and expect nurses to be as well. So I have a question. Can nurses keep up with patient expectations now that patients have access to information technology? If so, how can nurses keep up with these increased patient expectations? Prior to the information age, nursing and technology had been marked by division and tension. Nursing was viewed as a soft science, holistic, humanistic, and feminine. And in contrast, technology was viewed as a hard science, mechanistic, and masculine. We asked a registered nurse working in her field for over 10 years how the introduction of new technology has affected patient and client care. She responded, "The introduction of more advanced technology has helped build a better therapeutic relationship with my patients. I can focus more on the patient when I worry less about mundane tasks like taking vital signs manually, tracking my equipment down if a coworker has used it, and communicating with other healthcare providers on the status of my patient. It saves me a lot of time that I can now invest into my patient." There is a lag in development and use of nursing technology. This is because priorities have gone towards larger issues addressing nursing knowledge, skills, and practice competencies. There is a lack of urgency to incorporate nursing technology into undergraduate nursing curricula in Canada. There is limited faculty development in new and emerging fields of electronic health or e-health, and there is a lack of ongoing electronic literacy programs to support for older nurses previously unexposed to new nursing technology. The effects of this are that new nursing graduates lack the ability to work with emerging technology, and older nurses are unable to operate unfamiliar technology introduced to the workforce. Patient and client care can be compromised by the lack of literacy and understanding of new nursing technology. So what is e-health? E-health is the application of information and communication technologies in the healthcare sector. These are the various ways the technology is used in healthcare. They include telepractice via the telephone, communication via electronic mail, knowledge through web-based information, EHR shared between various healthcare professionals. Nursing care by telephone began in the 1920s. Today, across Canada, 8 provinces and 1 territory have access to 24/7 nurse care via telephone. Telehealth is healthcare delivered through distance or electronic technology. It allows for client-centered nursing practice that provides information and education while still using the nursing process. We created a survey with questions in regards to nursing informatics from inside the profession as well as outside. We had 42 participants that participated in our survey, which included nurses, nursing students, and others. 59.5% of the people that took our survey have not called public health, even though this service is available to residents of Ontario. Telehealth has multiple advantages as well as disadvantages in the nursing profession. One advantage is that telehealth reduces barriers due to transportation and disabilities. Healthcare is geared towards urban communities more than rural communities. In remote communities, barriers include environment, distance, and geography, and these barriers are overcome by telehealth. Telehealth provides borderless, seamless, accessible healthcare to all. Disadvantages are as follows. Not everyone has access to technology or the knowledge and skill to use technology, which can lead to the digital divide within remote communities. Assessment, education, and interventions provided by nurses are limited based on technology resources. For example, a nurse may not always be able to measure vital signs of clients through technology. Privacy and confidentiality may pose an issue, as well as it cannot assess all nonverbal and behavioral cues via telephone or email. In a study we looked at from rural communities in northern Canada, there's 10 families as participants, and they were consulted from healthcare providers via video telehealth. There are 3 main advantages concluded from this study. The first was lessening of a burden of each participant due to less travel time, costs, and accommodations. Participants did not have to take time off work to attend appointments outside of their community, so they are able to avoid lost wages while being treated from the comfort of their own home. Participants were able to maximize their supports. They were able to feel a sense of familiarity from being at home and in their home community, and were able to have family and friends present with them during appointments. Participants were also able to be interviewed by the same healthcare providers over a continued period of time. This allowed for strong continuity of care from the healthcare team. eHealth was tailored to specific needs of client and families, allowing for enhanced communication and advocacy for the patient. Patients in rural communities were grateful for their video telehealth experience, which they found to be effective and experienced satisfaction overall. There are no formal regulations or guidelines on how to practice telemedicine in nursing. Therefore, nurses should still practice within their jurisdiction's standards of practice, code of ethics, legislations, and competencies of their regulatory body. There are challenges for nursing telepractice. At this time, not all jurisdictions have policies for telehealth communication. Educational standards and credentials have yet to be established, and frequency of review protocols are not yet determined. When practicing telehealth, nurses are still responsible for meeting the CNO practice standards. The first standard is the nurse therapeutic nurse-client relationship, which includes trust, respect, avoiding medical jargon, and using open-ended questions. Nurses should still use verbal, emotional, and behavioral cues when applicable, such as tone of voice. The second standard is providing and documenting care, which should include complete, clear, and comprehensive documentation. The third standard are roles and responsibilities. The nurse should demonstrate the knowledge, the skill, and the judgment to meet the client's needs. Consent, privacy, and confidentiality is another standard, and maintains privacy and confidentiality as in a face-to-face interaction with clients. Ethical and legal considerations must still be considered as based on the CNO's ethics practice standard. Lastly, competence, expertise, and knowledge is required beyond that of a basic nursing program. Electronic mail is also used in providing health care. Advantages are that some clients are more comfortable with discussing personal information via email, and it provides healthcare providers with more flexibility with time. There are a number of disadvantages, such as privacy and confidentiality, client identity. Others may have access to the client's email. The response can be sent to other healthcare providers and can lead to misunderstandings. And lack of communication via email can lead to patients under or over exaggerating their issues. In the study we conducted, almost 36% of participants that took our survey feel that they would not be able to effectively consult with a healthcare provider via email. Others specified that some issues may be able to be addressed over email, whereas some cannot. Another point of interest is health-seeking behavior. Self-education is when patients rely on various resources, online, forums, telehealth, to investigate symptoms prior to seeking medical attention. Advantages of self-education are privacy, immediacy, lots of information available, and different perspectives. There's also a repetition of information for reinforcement and online support groups. Disadvantages are that the patient can become very confused and anxious due to the amount of information and the way the information is presented, often with conflicting information. Information can often be unreliable as well, depending on the source. As a nurse, some of the goals for helping with health-seeking behavior are to educate the patient on how to evaluate and use internet sites. An example is the Canadian Virtual Hospice is a credible site, regulated by healthcare professionals for palliative clients and their families. This would be a good place to refer to patients if they're looking for this type of site. Some websites may look authentic, however contain information that is not validated, so educate clients about this issue. EHR, or electronic health records, are the health record of a person that is accessible online from many separate, interoperable automated systems within an electronic network. Thus, it is a secure and private lifetime record of an individual's health and healthcare history available to authorized healthcare providers. Canada Health Infoway is an organization that is currently working with Canada's 14 federal, provincial, and territorial governments to improve the accessibility, safety, and efficiency of healthcare by developing EHRs. Some of their digital health investments, among others, include EHR, diagnostic imaging systems, and drug information systems. According to a Canadian article published in 2013, the use of EHR has saved over $1.3 billion over the past 6 years. Characteristics of EHR, according to Health Canada, is that there's been an increased interest in EHRs because of technological developments, increased social mobility, public and government demand for accountability, and care by a wider range of healthcare professionals, all of whom will require information. Health Canada describes the following characteristics of EHR. It's electronic, so voice, video, images, and data that are related to the client or patient must be available electronically. Longitudinal, data is collected and stored over time. Accessible, authorized health professionals can access the record to provide quality health care. And comprehensiveness, the record includes service encounter data from several healthcare professionals along a continuum. It should be noted that these characteristics, such as being accessible, electronic, and comprehensive, reinforce the 5 principles of the Canadian Health Act, which are public administration, comprehensiveness, universality, portability, and accessibility. You can now click the link on the following video to look at the benefits of digital health tools and EHRs. There are some issues in the application of biomedical technology and nursing practice. The use of technology introduces potential ethical dilemmas. For example, the use of reproductive technology and genetic testing will prompt healthcare providers and patients to examine their moral values. Genetic testing requires women to examine themselves, evaluating their beliefs and their personal situations, as well as their willingness to accept this form of technology. Decision-making is not influenced by ethical dilemmas, but also by the cost and availability of technology. A limited supply of certain technologies promotes the need to ask important questions, such as, who should access this technology? And who should have access first? What is the criteria and who decides the criteria? For example, not all people who need dialysis have access to that technology, and of those who already receive dialysis, not all have access to portable dialysis machines. I found it helpful to think about how the use of technology has affected me throughout my education before getting into this section. Some things to consider are, would you consider yourself proficient or even an expert at computers? What specifically do you know about computers? What kind of learning environment do you prefer? Small group, big group, online, interactive, lecture style? In what kind of learning environment would you consider most of your education takes place? What about your nursing placement? In regards to the NSE, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages to it? Take a second and write some of your answers down. It will be interesting to look back on them after we talk about this. First, we're going to talk about computer literacy, which is basically the ability to use computers and the programs efficiently. Some advantages to computer technology in general is that it is a platform for education to reach a greater number of students with the least amount of resources, such as faculty, space, and financial need. It is said that the generation X and Y actually function better with the use of technology rather than without it. Disadvantages, however, are the possibility of computer technology taking away from the quality of education. If everything is online or through a database, you miss out on basic skills, such as socializing, developing therapeutic relationships, engaging in nonverbal communication, and so much more. It is important to remember that those things are also a part of nursing education. Another disadvantage is that the computer competencies required in the healthcare profession are not covered in all nursing programs. This could be due to a variety of reasons, such as resources, time constraints, or availability of space. Although many nursing students consider themselves proficient in computers, they are not proficient in nursing informatics, which is an expected skill when you enter the profession. In a study called Nursing Students' Perceptions of Their Resources Toward the Development of Competencies in Nursing Informatics, the purpose of the study was to evaluate nursing students' perception of internal and external resources in nursing informatics. Results from their doctoral study indicated that students have enough internal and external resources to ensure knowledge to act in nursing informatics, but lack of knowledge in how to use spreadsheet programs like Excel, presentation software like PowerPoint, courseware about data security and how to analyze the quality of health-related websites. A quote from the article states, "They still lack important resources for developing competencies in nursing informatics. We recommend that faculties and colleges focus on these elements." As mentioned in the previous slide, the results from the study indicate a lack of knowledge on how to analyze the quality of health-related websites. Patient education and patient teaching are key components in the nursing role. It is imperative to educate patients about the dangers of using Dr. Google and to provide them with reliable websites to find health information. Do you know how to analyze the quality of a health-related website? Click on the link here for some tips on finding reliable websites. The second link there also gives you tips on how to evaluate information from scholarly articles and papers using the PARCA test. When you think about computer competencies that nurses would need to know, what do you think of? How to maintain privacy in an electronic database, where to find education resources, how to document correctly, where to find information that is appropriate and relevant, how to use certain softwares, how to use online MARS and ensure minimal errors, how to compare past assessments and enter them into a database. There are also much more things that nurses need to know. Next up is the use of simulated learning in nursing education. In our survey, we had 29 nursing students, RNs, and RPNs respond. 62% of that group said that they do not think that the NSC adequately prepares them for their placement and eventual careers. On the survey, the disadvantages the participants outlined were: it is too bare bones and does not prepare for the fact that these patients are emotional beings with their individual needs. It is not enough on its own and requires clinical practice in addition to simulation to actually learn the new skills. Participants also pointed out some benefits, such as it allowed the students a safe place to make errors and learn prior to working on real patients. Another said it allows the students to develop confidence in the skill so that in practice they can focus on the client in front of them and not only on the skill. What do you think? What kind of learning would you put into place to overcome these barriers? Some advantages we found were that it increases confidence through repetition of the skill. It is widely accessible. It's accommodating to people with different learning skills or that may require more practice or more hands-on learning in a slower-paced environment. It is safe, and you can focus on only the skill at hand. Some disadvantages would include the focus on the skill and not on developing skills such as therapeutic dialogue. It does not encourage patient-centered care, and it does not prepare you for patients with comorbidities and additional concerns. The adoption of advanced technology in education is becoming increasingly more common. However, this does bring about several issues and dilemmas. We are witnessing a shift in the predominant paradigms used in education. In the traditional paradigm, students are expected to passively listen to long lectures and to absorb extensive content in a single setting. In a learner-centered or constructivist paradigm, the teacher facilitates the learning process in a unique and engaging way. This paradigm shift also has a dramatic impact on the roles of faculty and students. With the expanding use of online courses, faculty are less likely to be the primary source of information. Educational instructors have been commonly characterized as facilitators in the technology-based classroom. The primary role of facilitators include assisting with access and navigation, simulating critical thinking, sharing professional expertise, and providing encouragement. How do you feel that online courses should fit into the curriculum of nursing? The appropriate use of technology in the educational setting considerably increases the workload of faculty. Online courses increase faculty workload in all aspects of course design and implementation. This takes away from other aspects of faculty roles and responsibilities. Lack of recognition remains one of the greatest barriers to implementing online courses. Educational institutions place a high value on research and scholarly achievements. Faculty often show reluctance to engage in these courses because it may be perceived as detracting from their other academic roles. It is important for educational programs to make clear decisions about the extent of technology use both inside the classroom and during off-site clinical placements. Martin described the advantages of using personal digital assistants, PDAs, in clinical practice. Large volume of information readily available helps to reduce student anxiety and stress. It provides current information about medications, policies, procedures, and laboratory values. It has a positive effect on reducing medication errors, delivery of more comprehensive care, and improving continuity of care. Can you think of any possible disadvantages from using PDAs during clinical placement? It's important to look at the patient's perceptions of nurses' bedside use of PDAs. In a qualitative study done that examined patients' perceptions of nurses' bedside use of PDAs, the researchers conducted 14 semi-structured interviews with patients. Interviews in the studies were guided by questions similar to, have you noticed nurses' use of PDAs? Would you please describe this use? What do you think of the nurses' PDA use? What influences had this had on your care? Based on the participants' responses, 5 themes were present. PDAs increases nurses' work efficiency, concerns about data entry, accuracy, and privacy, explain and market e-care to patients and families, enhance PDA functions for use of patients and for easy location of caregivers, and quality of care valued over the use of PDAs. Some findings of each theme were: patients thought that the use of PDA increases nurses' work efficiency. Patients expressed concern over wanting to protect their privacy on PDAs. Patients also stated the importance of nurses explaining what the use of them means. One patient stated, for example, make some computers available for patients to continue their business while in the hospital or to provide games for children to divert their attention from their illness. Patients commonly expressed that the use of PDAs by nurses did not interfere with the quality of care they received. It is becoming obvious that particular areas of nursing practice are overlooked in favor of more technologically savvy environments. Research from Stevens and Crouch suggests that nurse educators favor high technology areas of nursing practice and create biases in students. Study shows that after graduation, students gravitate towards high technology nursing domains. Students also valued specialized training experience over basic nursing. The future of nursing is faced with a growing dilemma. How will the new generation of computer-literate nurses be enticed into entering and remaining in the areas of practice with low technology? Some advantages of adopting technology in nursing education is that there is an increased access to students who live in remote locations. Online courses are generally less expensive, and it promotes self-motivation and student satisfaction. Click on the link for more advantages. Some disadvantages are that you lose the face-to-face communication that leads to a diminished sense of community. According to our survey, more than 90% of our colleagues believe that campus-based lectures play an important role in socialization. Transitional distance caused by a miscommunication and psychological gap between learners and instructors is also a problem. Here are some questions to consider. What becomes of the high value placed on socialization, role modeling, and development of the student-teacher relationship? Can a chat session replace the level of dialogue and discourse that exists in a traditional classroom? How does the use of technology impact the student's progress in effective domain criteria, such as outcomes related to humanism, moral knowledge development, ethical development, interdisciplinary communication, or caring attributes? Here we have an example of technology in action. Please click on the image to watch the video about SickKids Pain Squad app. The Pain Squad electronic pain diary is a tool created for kids with cancer to kick back against their pain. Developed by researchers at the Hospital for Sick Kids, this is an evidence-based pain diary that plays like a game and is recommended for children 8 to 18 years of age with cancer. Thinking back to Ting Lee's study on patient perceptions of nurses' use of PDAs at the bedside, one of the common themes presented was explain and market e-care to patients and families. A patient suggested sharing the use of computers with patients so that they may continue their business while at the hospital and provide games for children to divert their attention from their illness. How does the SickKids Pain Squad app address the enhanced PDA functions for patients' use and for easy location of caregivers theme? How does the SickKids Pain Squad app address the findings corresponding to that theme? When discussing the future of nursing informatics, it's clear that technology will continue to evolve. Nursing science, or the knowledge important for nursing practice, will continue to guide the use of technology in both education and practice. In 2003, the Canadian Nursing Informatics Association completed a national research study of undergraduate nursing education informatics in Canada. It subsequently made several recommendations as follows. The use of information and communication technology be required in education, healthcare, research, and policy development. The development of a holistic approach to nursing informatics and baccalaureate programs offered by the Canadian Association of Schools of Nursing should develop a strategy for faculty development of nursing informatics, with the goal to incorporate the use of nursing informatics into best practice by creating e-health literate nurses. Click on the link above to watch the video. Although this video demonstrates a great advancement in technology and how residents in remote communities or those that do not have access to an NP or MD are still able to be assessed in great detail, there are still some limitations. Technology and equipment as shown in this video are expensive, and people that are not able to use technology may have trouble using this equipment, a digital divide as mentioned earlier. Also, there was still a nurse present with the patient in this instance, using this technology and forming a nurse-client therapeutic relationship. So, the care of the client was not solely based on e-health. Technological developments have and will continue to change how nurses practice. Advances in telemedicine and mobile medicine extend healthcare into the home environment. Technologies that may be able to sense patients' emotions and/or affect would prove particularly useful for clients with communication barriers or in non-responsive states. An increasing number of credible sources and resources are popping up in social media outlets. Social platforms may provide a more legitimate way to communicate with the client population. This could also have an important implication for health promotion, where information needs to be disseminated in a larger scale. These recommendations and developments have important implications in education and in practice. E-health competencies should be incorporated into baccalaureate education to facilitate e-health literate nurses. The RNAO actually has a free course following best practice guidelines on how to participate in mobile health. There is a link below. Greater online resources for students also facilitate distance learning and online practical resources. Mosby Skill is a great example of an online educational nursing resource. With continued advancements, there is a potential for real hands-on distance learning. What kind of technology would enhance your educational experience? In a practice setting, technology will continue to facilitate increasingly complex data, categorization. In a practice setting, technology will continue to facilitate increasingly complex data categorization systems to further reflect the nursing discipline. This may address the critique of the inability of current systems to adequately reflect holistic practice. Similarly, more advanced EHR software may be able to improve continuity of care by creating a platform that incorporates multidisciplinary documentation in an easier-to-read format. The use of biotechnology to protect information can increase the security of patient information and public protection from confidentiality breaches. And finally, telemedicine and mobile health can improve post-discharge health by improving communication after patients leave the hospital. Finally, as newer generations of nurses enter the field, there will be less resistance and higher literacy rates in nursing informatics. As nurses, we face ever-changing and challenging practice situations. Competency in nursing informatics promises to strengthen our clinical decision-making skills. Thank you for listening.